What's up, guys? We are back for my predictions and full card breakdown of UFC 297, headlined by Strickland vs. Dricus Du Plessis for the middleweight title, and Raquel, as my brother called her, Pennington vs. Mayra Bueno Silva for the vacant bantamweight title. It's the first pay-per-view of the year, and it's a pretty good card. The main event is definitely the best fight on the whole card. As we have got closer and closer to this fight, I've only got more excited with the whole build-up between these two, them brawling in the crowd, the press conferences, the interviews. Everything has just made me so excited for this fight, and it's also just a great fight in general. But outside of the main event, the rest of the card's okay. There's some good fights on there. Serhi Saidi and Ramon Tavares are having a rematch. That's a pretty good fight. Charles Jourdain and Sean Woodson is probably the best fight on the whole prelims. Brad Katona's on the card. That's the guy who had one of the best fights of last year against Cody Gibson. Jillian Robertson's also on the card. That's the girl who submitted Rose Namajunas in a grappling match a little while back. She's a young up-and-coming prospect in the strawweight division. She's got a lot of potential, very good grappler. And then the main card is pretty good. Arnold Allen versus Movsar Evloev could determine who gets the next title shot at featherweight, depending on what happens with Volk and Topuria. Chris Curtis versus Marc-Andre Barriault is also a great fight. Chris Curtis is always just fun to watch. His fighting style is so entertaining. Neil Magny versus Mike Malott is a cool fight. Trying to build up Mike Malott as that next Canadian star, and beating Neil Magny would be a good step towards that. And then we got Raquel Pennington versus Mayra Bueno Silva for the vacant bantamweight title. Amanda Nunes retired, she's gone, and it's an okay fight. And then we obviously got the main event, in my opinion the best fight on the whole card. Strickland defends his middleweight title against Dricus Du Plessis. Dricus finally got his much deserved title shot. For a minute there it looked like they were going to do either an Izzy rematch or Sean versus Hamzat, but Dricus definitely deserves it the most for knocking out Robert Whittaker. He absolutely dominated him. He also beat a bunch of good contenders like Derek Brunson and Darren Till. But let's start with Arnold Allen versus Movsar Evloev. One of the best fights on the whole card and one of the harder fights to predict. It all really comes down to, can Movsar take Arnold Allen down, and how does Arnold Allen's takedown defense hold up? Because Arnold Allen's going to want to keep this fight on the feet. That's where he's his best. That's where he's going to have his most success in this fight. He is overall the much better striker. He's more technical. He has a larger variety of strikes. He has way better footwork. He has some of the best footwork in all of the featherweight division. He's very fast on his feet. He's fast with his strikes. He can put together pretty good combinations. He's good defensively, backed behind his footwork. And Movsar isn't the best striker. His striking has improved over his last few fights. He's putting together combinations a bit better. He's fast, but he still definitely has holes on the feet, especially defensively. He doesn't really move his head. That quick jab from Allen down the center line is going to be there. He can also use the kicks. Allen has pretty decent kicks. The leg kicks are going to be a good weapon. He can counter Movsar's forward aggression. He can use his footwork to create different angles to attack on. He's just overall the much more technical striker on the feet, but where Movsar wants this fight to be is on the ground. Movsar wants to take this fight down with a single leg, with a double leg, use his grappling, use his top pressure. He is very hard to get up from the bottom against, but can he take Arnold Allen down, who has pretty decent takedown defense? Even though it has been a while since we've seen it, Arnold Allen's takedown defense has looked pretty good. He has amazing footwork, which creates separation between him and the takedown. He can use his footwork to avoid and defend the takedowns. He's also just going to constantly be moving. He's not going to be a standing target, which is going to make it way harder for Movsar to get that double leg, so he's going to have to resort to single legs. And if Movsar does grab a hold of a single leg, Allen still has pretty good takedown defense. He's strong. He's got a big base. He has pretty good understanding of how to defend a takedown, but Movsar does have very good wrestling. He can transition from those out in the open takedowns to takedowns against the cage. That's where he gets the majority of his takedowns. That's where he does his best work in the grappling and wrestling department. So Allen has to really be careful and keep his back away from the cage, keep his back towards the center of the octagon, because that will help neutralize both Movsar's pressure and his wrestling. It'll make it harder for Movsar to take him down. So for my prediction, I'm going to go with the underdog here. I'm going to go with Arnold Allen. I think he'll be able to defend at least some of the takedowns. I think he'll be able to avoid a lot of them with his footwork. Use the footwork and lateral movement to create separation, constantly be a moving target, which will make it harder to shoot on him. And then on the feet, he's the far more technical striker. Movsar doesn't move his head, doesn't have the best defense. And I think Allen will be able to defend enough of the takedowns and just do more damage overall. Movsar isn't really a submission artist, doesn't do a lot of damage when he's on top of you. So I will go with Arnold Allen, and I will take him by a decision, handing Movsar Evloev his first loss. And then we go to Neil Magny versus Mike Malott. This is a tough one for Neil Magny because everywhere where he's good, Mike Malott's better. Magny's fairly well-rounded. He has some decent striking, some decent wrestling. On the feet, he has a good jab. He likes to keep his opponents at the end of that jab, but Mike Malott is just much more dangerous on the feet. He's younger, faster, more powerful. And then on the ground, Neil Magny has some okay wrestling, decent control, but he has pretty much no grappling. Whereas Mike Malott has pretty good wrestling, very good grappling, great submissions. Neil Magny has a good chin. He can be a tough guy to finish, but he has pretty much no takedown defense and pretty much non-existent grappling. So I will go with Mike Malott, and I will take him by a first-round submission. On the feet, Neil Magny's going to look to use his jab, but Mike Malott is just much more powerful. He's much faster. And then, as I said, Neil Magny has pretty much no takedown defense, so I think Mike Malott's going to be able to take him down and submit him. And then we go to Raquel Pennington versus Mayra Bueno Silva for the vacant bantamweight championship. And this is a tough one. Pennington has some good boxing. That's her biggest strength. She has some decent submissions, some decent wrestling. Whereas Silva is a better overall striker. She has better kicks, better elbows, better knees. She's more of a Muay Thai fighter, whereas Pennington is more of just a boxer. She has good submissions, a good arm bar. She had a knee bar in her last fight. She has good chokes as well. She's a much better grappler overall. But Pennington also has pretty good grappling and is a hard person to take down, so it's going to be hard for Silva to implement her grappling, implement her submissions. But if she does get the fight there, she definitely has the advantage there as well. So I will go with Mayra Bueno Silva, and I'll take her by a fourth round submission. She has a grappling advantage. I think she'll eventually be able to get Pennington down. On the feet, she's a much more diverse striker. She's a more dangerous striker. She's a lot faster. She has a wider variety of strikes she can go to. The kicks can help neutralize some of Pennington's boxing, so I will go with Mayra Bueno Silva. And then we go to, in my opinion, the best fight on the whole card. The fight I am most excited for. Sean Strickland will be defending his middleweight title against Dricus Du Plessis. Dricus is the more dangerous fighter for sure. He has more power on the feet. He's better on the ground, has very good submissions, especially for the middleweight division. A very good guillotine, very good chokes. On the feet, he's very fast and powerful. Sean is the more technical striker. He uses the Philly shell better than anyone I've ever seen in MMA. He can block, parry, slip punches. His boxing defense is amazing. And Dricus isn't the most technical boxer. He's very powerful, very dangerous, but his punching technique is pretty sloppy, and overall defensively he's not great, which does leave room for Sean to hit him, for Sean to counter him. Worse strikers like Brad Tavares and Darren Till have shown that Dricus is hittable. Sean can stick to the fundamentals, the jabs, the 1-2s, work his way into the pocket. Sean has an excellent jab. He knows how to work off it. He likes to pressure his opponents backwards, which is going to make the takedowns harder to get from Dricus. He has good teeps to the body he can also go to. Where Sean does struggle on the feet is with his kicking defense, but that has gotten a lot better. We saw it in the Magomedov fight. In that first round, the leg kicks were a huge weapon against Sean. The leg kicks were really hurting him, but then we saw it in the Israel Adesanya fight. Sean made some adjustments, made some improvements. He was checking a lot more of them. He was lifting his leg up to defend against the leg kicks, and Dricus doesn't have the best kicks, so on the feet, Sean has the advantage. He can use his volume, put a pace on Dricus. He looks to be in better shape than ever before. He's got an 8-pack and bolder shoulders, and Dricus has never gone 5 rounds, and in 3-round fights, he hasn't looked great. I know he got his nose fixed, which definitely helps with his cardio, but he still has never gone 5 rounds, whereas Sean has gone 5 rounds many times and has looked great. He does not get tired, and if Dricus starts to gas out in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round, Sean can put it on him and potentially finish him. Now, where Dricus is going to have his biggest advantage is on the ground. Now, Sean is no slouch on the ground. He has decent grappling. He can work his way up good defensively, was able to get up from the bottom against Magomedov, and was able to defend the back take, but Dricus is a whole different level of grappler. He's done grappling tournaments and looked great. He's looked great in MMA. His submissions are very good. He has a very good guillotine, one of the best guillotines I've seen in the middleweight division. He has a wide variety of submissions he can go to. He's very good positionally as well. He knows how to position himself. He can get to mount. He can get his opponent's backs and threaten with chokes. He has very good ground and pound like we've seen in the Robert Whittaker fight and in the Darren Till fight. As I've said, Sean is no slouch on the ground, but Dricus is way more dangerous with his submissions, with his ground and pound, with his positional understanding. And a lot of people question, can he take Sean to the ground? Because Sean actually has pretty good takedown defense. He grabs onto the underhooks very quick. He knows how to hand fight. He uses the underhooks to create separation and disengage. He uses the hand fights, breaks the grip, turns into his opponents, and separates. But Dricus has very good takedowns. He was able to take down Robert Whittaker, who has some of the best takedown defense in UFC history. We saw Olympic level wrestlers like Yoel Romero struggle to even take Robert Whittaker down, let alone hold him down. And Dricus was able to. He has a wide variety of takedowns he can go to. He can trip you out in the clinch. He can shoot double legs and single legs in from a distance. So even if Sean is able to defend the initial shot, if he gets pushed up against the cage, Dricus can trip him out there. That's probably where Dricus is best at getting his takedowns. So Sean's forward pressure in this fight is going to be crucial. Just keeping his back to the center of the octagon, away from the fence, is going to make it so much harder for Dricus to take him down. But at the same time, Sean's takedown defense isn't as good in the center of the octagon. He's much better against the fence. He doesn't really sprawl on double legs, but he does have a decent ability to work his way up from the bottom, although against Dricus it's going to be hard to do because he's one of the best, if not the best grapplers Sean has seen in a long time. And he's so strong and suffocating on top. Robert Whittaker even couldn't work his way up from the bottom. And the ground and pound Dricus uses plays a big factor in that. But if Sean is able to keep this fight standing, although Dricus is very dangerous, Sean is so hard to hit, and Dricus isn't the most technical. He's very unorthodox, which could actually play into Dricus's favor because Sean is used to seeing more traditional technical kickboxers like Izzy, like Alex Pereira. Even Jared Cannonier fights more textbook than Dricus. So those punches are going to come at different angles that Sean isn't used to seeing, which could make it harder for Sean to defend against them. But because they're coming at weird angles, it often leaves Dricus defenseless, which is going to make it easier for Sean to hit him. So for my final prediction, who am I going to go with? Both guys do so many things that could neutralize the other. I think it really comes down to the cardio of Dricus, because we know Sean's cardio is insane. He can go 5 rounds easily, and he's in the best shape of his life, so who knows, his cardio might even be better, which is crazy. Can Dricus go 5 rounds? And if he can't, when does he start gassing out? Does he start gassing out in the 3rd? Does he start gassing out in the 4th? But in the end, I'm going to go with Dricus. It's a scary fight for Dricus. We don't know how his cardio is. We don't know if he can go 5 rounds. Sean is extremely tough. He's a very hard guy to finish. He has a very good chin. He's very hard to submit. He has good submission defense, although he's never faced an amazing grappler. On the feet, Sean definitely has the advantage. He can counter Dricus. That forward pressure behind his jab is going to be key for him. Dricus is going to have a hard time hitting him, but Dricus is more dangerous in the stand-up. He's much more powerful. I think he'll have some success on the feet, but where he's going to have his most success is on the ground. I think he will be able to take Sean down. Sean does have decent takedown defense, but if Dricus can take down, trip out Robert Whittaker, I don't see why he can't do the same to Sean. And Sean's going to have a hard time working his way up from the bottom. The submission attempts from Dricus, he's going to constantly be threatening with submissions, using the ground and pound, looking to transition, looking to pass guard, transition into mount, get the back. Sean is a hard guy to finish, so if he doesn't finish him early on and Sean drags him into the championship rounds, then I could absolutely see Sean winning. But I just think Dricus is more dangerous on the feet. He's more dangerous on the ground. He knows how to game plan, so I am going to go with Dricus. Not confident in this pick whatsoever, and I will take him by a 3rd round TKO from ground and pound. But I think if this fight does go into the later round, Sean's going to take over and start to dominate, but I will go with Dricus. And that is my final predictions for UFC 297 in Toronto, Canada. It's a decent card overall, and I will be covering all the fights after they happen, so subscribe so you don't miss those, turn on post notifications, like the video if you did enjoy, leave your predictions for this card in the comments down below. Who do you think wins the main event? And I'll see you guys in the next one.